The last wave, the cursed revelation.
The air around them pulsed with an almost unbearable tension. The pirate shadows, now nearly solid, closed in around the group. The leader of the specters, with his eyes like two black holes of hatred, held his sword high, as if about to give the final order. The friends knew that at any moment, they would be dragged to the same fate as those spirits. The ship, silent and threatening, seemed to watch them, waiting to claim them under its curse. Camila, still breathless from the visions she had experienced, took a step forward. "You want the gold, but where is it?" she shouted at the spectral leader, her voice a mix of courage and desperation. The ghost didn't answer with words. Instead, a black chain slithered across the ground, wrapping around Camila's ankle. With a violent yank, she was dragged toward the ship, as if the vessel were claiming its next prisoner. "Camila!" Javier shouted, running after her, but the mist seemed to grow stronger, thick and heavy like a raging sea. Each step they took was like moving in a nightmare, where time and space no longer obeyed the laws of reality. Sofia, tears in her eyes, looked around, searching for any way out, any sign of hope. But everything around them seemed to be falling apart, as if the world was being swallowed by that cursed ship. It was then that, in the midst of despair, Mateo remembered something. The gold. He muttered to himself, his eyes wide with sudden understanding. The gold was never lost. It's still here. The others turned to him, confused. "What are you talking about?" Sofia asked, struggling not to give in to panic. "Look around," he said, pointing to the chains that bound the spirits, to the shadows moving as an extension of the ship. The treasure isn't just physical gold. They were betrayed here, in this port. That's what they want us to understand. They're trapped not because the gold is gone, but because their revenge was never fulfilled. The real treasure is the blood of the traitors." Camila, still bound by the chain, cried out in pain as the pirate leader's spirit pulled harder. His distorted face, half skull, half rotting flesh, was now inches from her. His lips moved, but without sound. Even so, Camila knew what he was saying. He was demanding an exchange. They didn't just want the gold returned to the sea. They wanted the group to pay the price of the betrayal. They wanted sacrifice. The terror in her chest mixed with understanding, and Camila looked desperately at her friends. "We're the currency. They want blood, and they won't stop until they get it." Javier, desperately trying to find a solution, looked at the parchment he still held. The curse spoke of betrayal, of souls condemned to wander until their justice was done. But there was a final line he hadn't noticed before. "Those who free the spirits must do so with a pure heart, or else they will share their curse." He looked at Camila, his eyes filled with tears. "They want to use us for their revenge. But if we find a way to free them without spilling blood, maybe the curse will break." Mateo shook his head. "We don't have time for that. They're hungry, Javier. They're not going to give us that chance." The pirate leader raised his sword once more, and the chains around Camila began to tighten, cutting into her skin, as the ship let out a dark wail, as if the ocean itself was mourning. It was then that Sofia, the calmest until that moment, took a step forward, her face hardened by the decision she had made. "I'll end this." Without waiting for a response, she ran toward the spectral leader, her eyes locked on him, as if offering herself. "If this is what you want, then take me. But let the others go." Camila cried out in protest, but it was too late. Sofia's hand was already extended, and the spirit took her in his icy arms. Time seemed to stop as the sword rose. Javier tried to run, but was held back by other shadows. All that remained was the sound of the blade slicing through the air, and then silence. But the sword never fell. Suddenly, the chains around the friends began to loosen. The ship trembled, as if being shaken from the inside out. The pirates, one by one, began to disappear, dissolving into mist, while the leader, still holding Sofia, looked at her with something that seemed like gratitude. He released her hand, and for the first time, Camila saw a look of peace in the eyes of that tormented spirit. The ghost ship, once invincible, began to crumble like an illusion. The rotting planks disintegrated into dust, and the tattered sails burned with an invisible fire. The sea, once black and restless, calmed, and the port returned to its normal state, as if nothing had happened. Sofia collapsed to her knees, exhausted but alive. Camila ran to her, hugging her with tears in her eyes. "You did it," she murmured. "You freed them." Javier and Mateo, still dazed, could barely believe what they had just witnessed. The ship, the pirates, the curse, it was all gone. But they knew it had been real. The port would never be the same for them. And as the night fell over Havana, only one thought echoed in their minds: the curse had been broken, but the city would never forget the price that was paid.